everybody. So, as Dean just mentioned, my name is Amanda Winder and I am the Hub Coordinator for the Mayor's Construction Academy at London South Bank University, and we operate across Lambeth, Lewisham and Southwark boroughs. So, as Dean mentioned, today we're learning about a couple of developments within those three boroughs. So firstly, we're going to hear about the Elephant and Castle Town Centre development that Multiplex are doing, and then we'll hear about a Galliford Try development in Vauxhall. And then we'll go into our panel discussion. So I hope that you will find this third of our webinars this year interesting and informative, and hope that you'll have lots of questions to ask us after we've had the presentations. So for now, I'd like to hand back to Dean, who's going to show a video of Lucinda Jensen talking about the Elephant Castle Town Centre development. Thank you, Dean.
So my name is Lucinda Jensen. I am the project manager for Multiplex, and we are going to be starting from the 4th of January on the Elephant and Castle Town Centre project. I know the town centre has sort of been the heart of the community for quite a few years now, but the old shopping centre has been demolished by the client that we work for, and that's included all of the old subways that went underneath the old roundabout before they redid the works for the traffic management around that area. So that's all been completed. They've been doing those works for around a year, and we, Multiplex, are going to take over as the principal contractor from January, and we're going to start our works. And what I've got a presentation that I can share with you. Let's see. So let me know if this works. Let's see.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, you can see that? Perfect. Okay, so the image that you're looking at the moment, what that shows is the artist impression, or the CGI, of what the project is going to look like in, a few years, around 2024, 2025 is what you'll see. So can you see my cursor here, the mouse, where I'm circling?
Yes, we can see.
Yep.
UAL.
Yeah, so the UAL building is going to be part of the land share deal. So UAL are currently on this side of the road, which is next to the Tabernacle Church. And part of the scheme is for us to build them a brand new 12-storey university building. And that university building is going to be their sort of flagship building going forward. And the current building, which is on the right, the existing building, you may have seen they've done some cladding repairs. They've got some brightly coloured cladding on there. That actually gets demolished once they are able to move into their new facility here as part of our scheme. So that's sort of the first building that we're sort of developing there. Along with that, if you can see here, the sort of gold cladding, this section of works is actually going to come a lot later, because this will be the new tube entrance. So at the moment, you might know Elephant and Castle, it's got the Northern Line and the Bakerloo line, but there's two separate entrances, and it's a bit of a rabbit warren when you go down there underground. It's a bit difficult to find your way to the platforms. So part of the scheme that we're developing here, TfL, so Transport for London, have actually put some money into the scheme, and we're going to be building them a new crossover box, so a new station box. And what that's going to mean is that the current entrance, which is here at the moment, that is going to be the entrance for both the Northern Line and the Bakerloo line. So you're going to enter there, go downstairs 5 stories below into the basement, into the new station, which will be the Elephant and Castle new station upgrade. So we, as Multiplex, we do all of the shell and core work. So we build the concrete box for them, for TfL. And then TfL have got a programme of works then to come and fit out the new station. So the new station upgrade will be, I think it's about 2 or 3 years after the project is actually finished. So that's a bit of phasing there that we're working with TfL on. The next section are the 3 towers that you can see here. So they're a range of 34-storey and 22-storey and 32, 20-storey towers. And all of the apartments in these buildings are going to be through a developer or part of our client team called Delancey, and they are going to be built for rent. So they're going to be fully affordable, rentable apartments for people in the local area who want to move into these new apartments here, and that will be a fully lettable agreement. And then underneath there's some commercial, so some office space, and again we've got some more retail which goes around the podium area. We'll look at that in a bit more detail later on. So here you can see what I was talking about, hopefully. So we've got building E1, which is the UAL building, 12 stories. We've got the workspace, which is the commercial area I was talking about, which is between level 2 and 4, so 2 levels of that. And then we've got retail, a cinema, sort of a nice outdoor, indoor shopping centre type feel to it, where you've got retail linked with a market, linked with some lobby and amenity areas here. And again, an open space, just really to open up that shopping experience. Above that, you've got the residential building E2, which is the tallest one, so 34 stories and 28 stories with a small sky garden on the top. That's all residential. And then the 2 smaller buildings to the rear of the site, the development, 22 stories and 20 stories, again with small sky gardens. And then a smaller, the last building that we build on the project, a 4-story E4, we're calling that, and that's all sort of local space for local shops and retail units there. And you can see this is just representing where the new station comes down, down sort of to level 5. So we're going up to 34, 35 stories at the highest, and down to -5 basements at the lowest there. Okay. So this is just a bit about our digital strategy. So moving forward, construction is, looking to embrace as much technology as possible. If we can get technology to make our lives easier, that's what we're trying to push, especially with Multiplex. So all of the drawings are drawn in BIM. So and this is on a program you can see here, where the model of the building is all developed in a 3D environment, and then we can actually build from that. And the Synchro program here is where we link our program to it. So you can actually do a fly through on the program in real time of how the model and how the development is then built for this system. So there's a lot of careers and opportunities in digital and in, sort of web-based and tech-based sort of roles. Construction isn't just someone who's building on site and, working outside. There are a whole host of opportunities and different career paths in construction. So this is just to show you the type of software that we use, and we have a lot of IT specialists and a lot of software specialists that help us with this digital strategy. Okay, so again, this is just a picture of the site. It shows the UAL building here, the 2 smaller towers to the rear of the site, and the tallest tower here. And this shows our cranes. So, over the next couple of years, you're going to see a lot of cranes up here. We've got 7 at the most at any one time. And that's a mix of tower cranes that will come up from the basement, and then, and then cranes that will then go onto the core of the building as well. So a smaller crane on top of the core will be swapped around depending on the time in the project. And again, this is all modelled as part of our digital strategy. So the facade, or the cladding on the building, we've got simplified 3 types of cladding. So we've got the sort of a black unitized system to the UAL building, and unitized means that the cladding panel comes in a full cladding panel, full shape, and it just gets lifted into position and then the building is sealed. So that's kind of a quite a high-end, high-spec type of facade panel for the UAL building. Then the apartments, you know, they're a lot more complex because they've got some balconies, they've got different types of textures on the outside to really add to the architectural feel. And that's going to be an SFS facade, which is going to be built off a climbing screen, which I'll show you in a minute. And then we've got the retail shop fronts. So what you're used to seeing around the city, the glass shop fronts, large entrances, lots of light in there. So again, because of the size of the project, we're going to have maybe 3 or maybe even 4 different cladding suppliers and companies who are going to be helping to build the project and working with us over the course of the install period. So one of the innovations that we're looking at, and again, construction is all about innovation. It's about how you can do things safely and as efficiently as you possibly can. So every build that you go on is completely different because everyone's trying to improve, and there's a real sort of drive for innovation in the industry as well. So this shows a climbing screen. So the concrete frame here is constructed within this frame. So this frame, this blue frame that you're looking at here, which I'm circling, hopefully you can see, actually gets jacked up with the building. So they pour a floor, then the frame moves up, and that makes sure everyone who's working on that floor is protected, they're safe, and nothing can fall out onto the into the public demise and cause injuries. And below this, so once the concrete frame goes up, below this another frame will be installed, and that is where the facade contractor will be working off each one of these floor plates, and they will be installing the facade below. So in a couple of years, say well, 18 to 24 months, you'll be able to walk past Elephant and Castle and you'll see this type of arrangement where the concrete frame is rising and you'll see the cladding coming up following behind it, hopefully not too far behind. That's our plan anyway. Okay. Utilities. So this is a very busy drawing, and it's very busy for a good reason. So this is the site where it's sort of X marks the spot here. They're the main entrances. And you can see here is the Faraday Memorial, which is part of the network for all the services in the area. And you can see all of these lines within the road and within the pavement area are actually services. So they are British Telecom, you know, UKPN, water, gas, mains, everything you can think of. So our key task is to bring the new incoming services that are needed to power this new development into the site safely and without disruption. So we've got quite a bit of work to do. You can see here there's a new water main to come in through Newington Butts and to the north of the site as well. And then there's a new gas main to come in also. So, you know, we're going to be very busy working with the energy and utility providers to make sure that those services come in to meet our deadlines. So MEP, so services, mechanical, plant and equipment. This is from the BIM model. So this shows where all the services are within the building. We are bringing in, as I said, you've got UKPN substations under the new building, which will power the buildings. And we've also got district heating, which is coming from a building next door called Elephant One, which is already built. That's a residential tower. It's the one where Sainsbury's is and the gym box, those things there. So district heating will come across the road and it will help to power, to heat some of this building as well. Okay, so the majority of the plant is all within the basement. So where we have the 5-story basement, a lot of that space under there is taken up with all of the MEP kit to make sure that everything's powered sufficiently there. Handovers and inspections are key because that's what gives us the quality. So when you move into a new home, you want to make sure that it's right first time, there's no snagging. And we've got a long process, you know, we've got an 8-week process in there to make sure that everything is snagged, correct, and there's no defects. So we want to hand over defect free. That is our target. And that's what we try and do on every project. Okay. So just going through some of these inspections, resources. So this is a good one. We are going to need, it's gone up slightly, we're going to need about 1,600 operatives. And you can see this histogram here shows when we start the project, we're starting piling and our basement works, and it really peaks towards August 2024. Where we ramp up and we have, you know, almost 1,600 operatives on site. And a lot of that, the majority, is to do with the facade and the fit out works to all those towers. So there's a lot of work in this local area for a sustained period of time going forward in a whole host of different roles. Okay. If you look here for the fit out, you know, we're going to need over 266 operatives just for the shell and core, and then for the services fit out, you know, 279. That's a lot of people to get on site and get through the door. So yeah, it's about 2 years work of high numbers on site. So it's going to be a very busy area. We're going to have a lot of people there, and we've got to get it right first time. This is the multiplex site team, and I realize it's a bit small, you may not be able to see much, but this just gives you a feel of this team here. Is everyone works for multiplex, and we are all part of the management team. So this will be construction managers, package managers, project leads, engineers, MEP, structures, facades, logistics, up to the project director and the commercial leads. So you can see the size of the team there. We'll have probably about 80 management staff, making sure that the supply chain are doing what they should be doing, and ensuring that, you know, we're doing what we should be doing and our client is happy with us, because that's also key, making sure the client is pleased with what's delivered at the end of the day, particularly with quality in mind. So there's a huge amount of people who are going to be needed on site.
So hopefully that's given you an insight into the range of different roles involved on building a development like the Elephant Castle Town Centre, but also how construction, the built environment, use technology and innovation. And I'm sure that you can ask questions later of Phoebe, who works for Multiplex. So I'll introduce her after we've had our next presentation. So I'm now going to hand over to Charlie and Max from Galliford Try, who are going to talk about their project in Vauxhall. So over to you guys. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Max Jadav, and I've got Charlie Driver with me, who's our project manager. I'm senior project manager for Galliford Try. We are doing a 10-story new office build in Vauxhall. We're not too far away from Albert Embankment. We have our challenges. I think obviously Lucinda's project is quite very much challenging from a multitude of ways, but our building is also challenging as well. We've had to do our project. A little bit about Galliford Try. We're a leading construction company. We focused on building, highways and environment. Those are our strengths. We have 3,000 employees. We have 8.5% of our workforce as apprentices, graduates and trainees. To the next slide, we just wanted to show what a main contractor does and where he sits basically on a construction project. So the red obviously is our role, design and build main contractor or principal contractor. And above us, we have the contract administrator, also known as employer's agent, project manager, and who sits beside him is the PQS, professional quantity surveyor, and above is our client. In this case, it's a CLS PLC, who do a massive business in real estate. They do have quite a few rental properties in Vauxhall. And underneath us, as design and build contractor, we would have a novated team or a direct design team, which would include an architect, structural engineer, MEP engineer, and a lot of the times the MEP engineer is retained by the client, so we end up getting our own MEP engineer. And then on, you can see our supply chain. Again, we are selecting our supply chain to target each element of the project, and we get the best out of them. And as Lucinda was saying, you know, innovation is very important on our approach. So early part of the project, when we was tendering, we had to have ways of actually building environmentally friendly, sustainably, a green way of building. So we introduced a different way of building rather than just building traditionally, and our supply chain supports us doing that. Typically, on a project, we'd have our head office support team, and then on site, you know, not as big as the Lucinda's project, but we have a site team with project managers, site managers, surveyors, assistant surveyors. We would then have, as the project develops, we'd have finishing foremen, and throughout the project, we'd have a design manager and an MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, and public health manager, doing all the services coordination, basically. We also have a document controller and a site administrator as well, you know, to make sure all the information management system is flowing well, and you know, communications are going well. So we are always communicating well with our teams. Just over the page, we've got the details of the project. It's not as big project. We're only a 12.5 million pound project. Our client is CLS Holdings, a FTSE 250 office space specialist. Our project is new 10-storey building, 28,500 square foot of office space, which includes a cafe, changing rooms on the ground floor, which will be fitted to Cat V, and the office areas, which will be tenanted, all being fitted out to Cat A, basically. There was previous phases which the client had done, which was already being built. Our challenges for the project, instead of going traditional build, was to work out a different way. So we are building in a confined way within the site. So we changed the method of build from in situ, pure in situ concrete, to have off-site precast components. That's how we changed our build, and confining and lifting within our own space, basically. Yeah, I'm just going to hand it over to Charlie because our project is live. We're not starting it, it's already live. We inherited it, as you can see in this first picture, so I'll hand over to Charlie.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So we inherited the site following the demolition by others. So we took it over, we took that hoarding over that was there already, just as a flat at ground level. You see we're a corner plot between two of the previous developments, part of the works from our client. The first operation was just to complete the piling mat, and then brought in the piling rig and commenced with the piling operations. We had about 85 piles in the ground. And then once the piling was complete, we started the reduced level dig. We exposed the piles, done pile cropping, and started preparation for our raft ground floor slab to be installed. The picture there just shows, you know, working on different levels, maintaining edge protection, maintaining access for the guys down to the working areas, and just some of the constraints we have. We see how tight the site is and material stored along the back. And then, actually, this is starting to form the ground floor slab, which is was done in sectional pours. The darker section there where my cursor is, that's the top of the sprinkler tank, because we don't have a full basement here, but we've just got our sprinkler tank is below ground. So that's what that pour was there. Otherwise, like I say, the ground floor slab is being cast. You can see this picture was taken from the tower crane, which we got in around November. And then following the completion of the slab, you can see here, these are precast columns on the bottom left-hand corner. So they were made up off-site and brought in and dropped straight into position. And then we cast these ones on site. So we just had the reinforcement done off site whilst the rest of the slab was being poured. And then as we go up the building, like Max said, we have a hybrid frame where all our horizontal slabs are all cast in situ on site. And then all our vertical members, the columns, the walls, and the stairs are all done precast. So these pictures here are of our stair core walls, which are twin wall, done in a factory in Northern Ireland, and then brought over and stood up. You can see unloaded with the crane onto site, stood up and positioned with these twist and pull props for leveling. And then once the vertical members are in place, then we commence the decking. So the picture on the right shows the formwork, and then the picture on the left is from above, where the deck is done and they're just preparing to start the reinforcement. And this is your more common in situ slab reinforcement. The first picture on the left-hand side is the first mat going down, and then the one on the right-hand side is, I think, pretty much completed, just about to pour. And then there's a picture of the concrete pour in process, which was being done from a concrete pump from the road. And then once the pour is complete, it starts its curing process. You're able to walk on it from the next day, and then the process repeats. So you can see the starter bars there for our lift core, and then the stair core is behind it. So the following day from the slab pour, we have the delivery of the precast elements, and then, like I say, we repeat the process. They're lifted in and stood up, and then we start the decking, then the reinforcement, and then that would be the RC frame repeats up all the way up to the roof slab, which is our level 10. And then from then, where we are now, we're currently on level 4, and we're just starting to bring in some following trades now. So we're starting the envelope works, we've started the scaffolding this week, we're starting the SFS, we've lined up for the windows and curtain walling to commence. So our target is to keep progressing with the RC frame, to then bring up the envelope and start to get watertight, and then we can kick off the internal trades. And then we'll continue that all the way through until project completion at the end of this year. So just a little bit about more about Galliford Try and the careers we have. Obviously, Max and I are both production based on site, but construction is so varied and vast that there's so many different career options you have, from our site-based staff to our office site-based staff to head office support, and then goes on from there. Really, this is just a few of them. And in training, so we have different training that goes right from someone whose first day on site as a graduate or an apprentice, right through to high level senior project managers still have training regularly, because the industry changes. There's always something to learn. And then routes into Galliford Try, there is no straightforward route in. Every time you speak to someone, they have a different career path. My one, I started off as an apprentice carpenter, and then I went from doing my carpentry apprenticeship to trainee site manager, and then trainee site manager to assistant site manager to site manager, and through the ranks that way. Whereas some people did their full-time university, come in as a graduate, and progress through that way. I would just say, if you're interested in a career with Galliford Try, then have a look at our website, Galliford Try /careers. Have a look what's on there, and hopefully you're interested and we get to pick up some good people out of this, and hopefully you found this talk interesting. We'll be taking any questions and answers when prompted at the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlie and Max. That was really interesting to see the developments and how it's progressing. And I would also just add, and we'll mention it again later, that Galliford Try have got some open days. The next one is in April, and they've got them scheduled in throughout the year, so you can actually see the project developing, and we will send out details of that to all the participants, all those of you in the audience, so that if you want to sign up to that, then that's a great opportunity to see a project and see it progress. So I'd like to bring in our panelists now. So if I can ask our panelists to switch their cameras on and introduce those that haven't spoken already. So Phoebe, would you like to just introduce yourself, give a bit of an overview of what you do?
Yep. So hi everyone. As Ben just said, my name is Phoebe. So I work at Multiplex, which is the company that Lucinda also works at from the original video. And I've recently just commenced on the Elephant and Castle project. Before that, I was working on the Chelsea Barracks redevelopment, which was a large residential development as well. So I guess I've had a bit of an interesting path into the industry, as a lot of us have. So I'm Australian and moved over here 4 years ago, and I actually I originally started at Multiplex as a PA on maternity leave contract, and then moved onto a site role, which was a client relationship manager, and now I'm working as a project manager and have been in the stakeholder area, but now is actually looking at fit out packages on the Elephant and Castle project. So I think, yeah, the big thing about industry that, as the guys said, there is so many different avenues, and it's such a big beast of a lot of different people, consultants, so many different skill sets. So it really is, there's a lot of opportunity, I suppose.
Yeah, thanks, Phoebe. And I think sort of you coming in as maternity cover for PA and then developing into your role now really shows the flexibility of the industry, and that I know other people that have started in sort of admin roles are now commercial managers, people that started as apprentices now running multi-million-pound sections of construction companies. So yeah, there's so many, as Charlie said, so many different routes in, different pathways that you can follow. So thank you very much for that. Terry, do you want to introduce yourself and say a bit about what you do?
Thanks, Amanda. Yes, I'd like to do that. Terry Watts, I am the CEO of the Chartered Surveyors Training Trust, and what we're about is trying to encourage people, particularly young people from different backgrounds, to consider careers in the built environment. And as Phoebe has demonstrated, also Charlie, and I'm sure if we ask the others as well, very few people have a career path that was very clear and linear into the built environment, because there's so many ways in. And most of us, when we're at school, and our teachers as well, and I'm sure our parents, if they thought about going to work for even an organisation like Multiplex, they would imagine working in a construction environment, which is nothing wrong in that, but they'd think about working outside, they think about hard hats, lots of men, dirty environments to work in. And the first presentation, was it Lucinda, I think it was, it showed us that actually there are hundreds and hundreds of jobs behind the scenes doing all sorts of creative and innovative things. And I'm always fascinated by the sorts of diagrams that we were showing there, because what the built environment is all about is design, making sure that we're creating the very fabric of the society we live in and the communities that we're going to be part of. We're creating the facilities for those. And people design those, and then someone's told to build it. And immediately there are problems. Which do you do first? Where do you put those blooming cranes to make sure that you make best use? It costs lots of money to hire a crane. You don't want it being hanging around too long. So how do you design the process so that you can make use of those cranes? There's a whole load of intellectually difficult and challenging and exciting and interesting work behind the scenes, not just the, not that it's not important, not just the carpentry, forgive me, Charlie, and pouring the concrete and so on, but there's all those jobs, but there's also those other ones that nobody knows exists. And what the Chartered Surveyors Training Trust exists to do is to try and make young people aspire to join this sector, which is so important to everybody and counts for 40% of our carbon footprint. So you want to change the environment, will improve the environment, help these guys using their modern methods and alternative means of construction to make sure we have better homes that don't waste as much energy and that we use in the construction process, fewer resources in our environment. So there's massive amounts of contribution you can do to the benefits of our society, as well as have careers which will last for a long, long while. We won't be turning these processes into robot-led processes in my lifetime anyway, which isn't that long, I suppose, but in even some of our lifetimes it'll be quite a long while before we can automate all of this stuff, and there'll be lots of jobs for you guys going ahead forward. So that's what we do. And the program that we have at the CSTT website is called My Environment, My Future, to try and excite people about the opportunities, the multitude of careers that there are in the built environment. That's it. Me, sales pitch over.
Thanks, Terry. Kwame, if you'd like to just introduce yourself.
Yes, so my name is Kwame. I'm the Employment Engagement Officer for the Mayor's Construction Academy. I work very closely with Amanda, and we've been organizing some of these webinars, and this is our third for the year. Every month we organize one. I work with all the contractors working in Lambeth, Lewisham, and Southwark, helping them to meet their Section 106 requirements, if they have any vacancies, which requires that they have to employ local residents, have some number of apprenticeships, have some number of local people be part of the project. These are the things that I work with the organizations or the contracting firms. And also anyone who is looking to get into construction, is there any pre-employment courses that they need to take, or they want to upskill their workforce, be it apprenticeship if they are on level 1 and they want to go on level 2, we signpost them and help them get some of these courses done. So this is what I do as an Employment Engagement Officer for the Mayor's Construction Academy. Thank you.
And Kwame, you were you hadn't worked in construction when you joined the MCA hub. So what would you say is your sort of initial impression of construction and the built environment from not having worked in it previously?
So just like many of you, and as I've been said, I only thought that you would always go in and work in the cold. It's all about hard hats, muddy boots. But when I came into the industry, I realized that there were over 150 roles in there, from document controller, as I've been said, to quantity surveyor, which is dealing with numbers. There's resident liaison officer, there is even HR and other things in. So there are professional roles in there. I've got to know that there are 4 different roles of construction in there, where you have your trade roles, the carpentry, and but there are support roles as well, someone dealing with just health and safety. And there's the civil engineering bit aspect of it. So it's just it's broadening my mind, and I'm just always fascinated about the various roles and even how technology, because I am from I did a little bit of business and technology. So I'm really fascinated about how technology infuses into the construction world, and it's really amazing. When they talk about Lucinda's video just showed you how most of these computer-generated designs are come up with, and it's just a fascinating sector, and it's just been amazing since joining. Yeah.
Thanks, Kwame. And just going back to Charlie and Max, and you mentioned, Max, about when you were doing the design, trying to think more about environmental and sustainable elements. So can you just sort of expand on that, on what elements what you've done to make it a bit more environmentally friendly or sustainable?
Yeah, yeah. So when I first was doing the tender, you know, you stand outside the project. There was a 3-story building which Charlie mentioned we wasn't demolishing, but your mind starts ticking away. How would you challenge this project? And you know the design's already there. So you know you get the RIBA design stages 1, 2, 3, and then you get stage 4 is when it starts to go into build live. Basically, the project goes live, and then you've sort of already sort of seen the drawings. You know, the architect's drawings. You see the structures drawings. You see the foundations drawings. You see the services drawings, and you're already mapping out. You know, your method, and everyone does it differently. You know, everyone's got a different way of doing it. So this was a traditional build, so it was an RC in situ frame. And you know, to do an RC in situ frame, we would have had to bring lots and lots of materials. We'd have had to bring lots and lots of labour, and then you know we would have to build it on site. So you know, the art is to actually be innovative, as Lucinda mentions, and thinking differently on how we're going to build, and using the technology that's out there. That Kwame says, you know, there's so much technology out there, and you'll be surprised at what there is out with the supply chain. You know, the talent that's out there, there's the specialism that's out there. You know, all these facades, different kind of facades. So one of the things was, you know, we had to do piling, which went down 25 meters, which that's the foundations, which was going to support the building. But there was a, you know, then there was a raft slab, which was 1400 deep, and that was going to take all the loads coming down. But there's also services around the perimeter, so you're going to be thinking about how you're going to manage the services, not hit any of the services, keeping everything live. So you come out with a method that's going to work with the community, that's a sustainable method, that's going to be environmentally friendly, and that's least impacting on our neighbours, the businesses, etc. So the method we came out with was using precast. So as Charlie mentioned, you know, we used in situ slabs, and then we had the vertical members all precast. So they're all being lifted with a crane, and then hey presto, we go repeating again with the slab again, and then the precast members. So we're going to repeat that 10 times. The frame will be there. We're in level 4 at this moment in time, and we're starting the fit out and the envelope works just now. So it'll be interesting to have some people visiting our project. Actually, we'll look forward to that.
With the precast element, has that speeded up the process of sort of building each floor?
Yes, because again, bringing off-site production and then using those prefabricated items onto site, you've already got the members already made. So you know, in order to have an reinforced concrete, you need the steel reinforcement, and then you'd have to form the shutters and pour the concrete. But we've already got those made, so you know the column comes in already pre-made. So you're just putting it into place, and then all of a sudden, you know, you've got the vertical structure in place. So massively, I think, you know, we're reducing the program. You know, our cycle was going to be something like 13, 14 days. And at the moment, we're getting some good cycles of 9, 10 days. But obviously, you know, we do get, you know, impacted by wind, for example. You know, it's impacted by the tube strikes as well. So, you know, labour can't get to site. So sometimes we get impacted, but it's give and take. But certainly, so you need these periods where you can actually build, you know, fast, you know, so you come out with some good innovative methods to catch up. And obviously you're going to get some bad days where you're not going to be progressing as well.
Thanks, Max. And Phoebe, on at Elephant Castle Town Centre, you're doing a lot in terms of sort of innovation and using technology. Are you able to expand on that at all? Or is that not your
I can as much as possible. So basically, our approach here is model first, which means we build the model, and then the 2D drawings will come from that. So, and by doing it model first, what happens is the clash detection. So, you know, one set of pipe needs to go here, but then there's also a pipe that's needs to go the other way. And from that, then it's coordinated. So all the trades would come in and say, well, you know, instead of by doing that model first, it then reduces changes down the track. And we've actually just started using a new program called Revitso. I don't have much to do with this side of it, but and yeah, you can actually literally go into an area, press it, and it'll bring all the 2D drawings up, all the information, if where that piece of will be manufactured. So yeah, that's Multiplex's new way going forward. Yeah, so we are model first, but it takes a lot of work at the beginning to input all of that in. So we've had a design, like a BIM designer in our team, working for about 7 months, just inputting all the information, and also our subcontractors as part of our contracts as well will have to provide their information. So then it all sort of talks to each other, but it's quite cool.
Thanks, Phoebe. And you also mentioned that your role is project manager for stakeholders. Can you just sort of enlighten us a bit about what that role involves? Not necessarily a common role in the sector.
No, so it's kind of been a bit of a new role at Multiplex as well. So we sort of identified, well, basically as a main contractor, you know, we only have ourselves. So obviously everyone's subcontracted out. And so it's, you know, that is our number one role, is managing our subcontractors and also ensuring that, you know, the client's getting what they paid for and what they want. So a lot of my role has been up to this point, basically doing subcontractor performance reviews across our business. So obviously, we've got 12 live projects at the moment, 2 in Glasgow as well. And so there's a lot of the key trades will have them on multiple projects. So as part of my role, we'll do a full review, we'll get them in for a meeting, you know, this is what's going well, this is what's not. So yeah, there's that constant communication with our supply chain, and also as well updating them on future work that we have coming into our workbook that we are going to be bidding on. So yeah, it's just sort of that collaboration with our supply chain, as they are so integral, to what we do.
Great, thank you for that, Phoebe. We've got a question from Maxine in the Q&A. And I don't know who wants to pick this one up, or all of you can. Do you encourage mature apprenticeships? So I don't know who wants to answer that question first. Go on, Terry.
I think the apprenticeship route actually enables people who aren't full-time students to go into new jobs. So I think that's a really good way of getting in. So if you were, about half of the apprenticed surveyors, so you go through an apprenticeship, either you do it to be a surveyor, you either go through a full-time degree at university, then you have 3 or 4 years experience working in a property or a construction or a development company of some form, and then you do your professional qualification. Or you can do a degree level apprenticeship, which is like 4 days a week at work, 1 day a week at university, and over 6 years, 5 or 6 years, you end up getting a degree doing that as well. But you're in work as well, and you are paid. And half of the people doing degree level apprenticeships at the moment are actually in work, and they're doing it as a promotional way rather than they're not entering the sector that way necessarily, but they're already someone, they've joined one of these weird routes that you come in maybe as a PA or something, and you get to a level of site manager and you want a professional qualification, you can do your degree level apprenticeship and be kind of a chartered member of the CIOB, the Chartered Institute of Building, or the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, and you can elevate your career doing those things in the workplace. And as far as the education system is concerned, once you're 24, you're mature, and you're old anyway. So, you know, anyone above that age can do these kinds of programs. And it's really about finding a job and finding a way that you can actually get someone to employ you through that sort of activity, or get your employer to sponsor you through that. So I think actually apprentices make it much easier for more mature people to get into these roles. So I think it's a really good route for people. And it's you know, you come out of at the end with your degree at 6 years. You could, if it goes well as a surveyor, and I'm sure it's true for the other professions too, you could come out being if you start at 18, you could be 24 and you'll be a chartered surveyor, and you'll have no university debts, and you'll have a degree which you can take and do other things with as well. So it's a really, really good route for people, especially those who the financial consequences of becoming a full-time student are difficult. And that's one of the things that CSTT is about, is trying to help people find those routes, because it's only really people in the industry who know about these roles. And it's very hard to find out about it because it is so complicated. It is so complicated, and there are so many different roles. But go and talk to the universities and talk to your friends, and go and visit the sites that Galliford Try, and go and visit Multiplex and ask what people do, because they're really amazing things. And I know there's interest in young people. I've got 2 daughters, and they've suddenly got back into Sims. I don't know if you remember Sims. I've got 2 older kids as well. They used to play Sims about 15 years ago. It's come back again now. They're building communities, they're building houses, they're laying out streets and stuff. You know, you can play at that stuff, and it's called planning in the built environment world. You know, so so there's things that people are interested in, and I think there's real roots into those careers for them.
Thanks, Terry. Yeah, and I'll just sort of reiterate, there's no upper age limit for apprenticeships now. Charlie or Max, I don't know whether you want to add anything to what Terry said about that question.
So, you know, we're always looking for people, you know, and you know, you got to apply, you know, for these jobs, you know, keep looking around, you know, and just get lots of applications out. You know, there's no age bias whatsoever with anyone. You know, come in. You know, I think it's a fantastic industry. You know, it's great to meet people out there. You know, different ages. You know, there's a role for everyone out there. You know, and you start off and then you just get into it. You know, so, you know, just apply and, you know, look us up, and you know, you never know, these opportunities will start off. And you know, we started the same way, you know, myself and Charlie, you know, you start off, I did a degree at the South Bank, a building when you had the campus at Wandsworth, back as I started in 86 and finished in 1990. But you know, I love every day, you know, and it doesn't matter how old you are, you know, you're going to meet some fantastic people, you know, whether it's professional side, specialist side, you know, a client side. It is just so fascinating. You just start off, the opportunity will be there for you one day. Just come in, you know.
Thank you. And we've got one more question, and I'm just conscious of time. So this person's actually in Rome at the moment. First holiday since the beginning of the pandemic. Rome wasn't built in a day. This person asks, now that the UK has left the EU, do you see changes in the industry which will affect the construction in the UK? So I'd like whoever answers it to keep it brief, just because I'm conscious of time. So any volunteers to answer that question, Terry?
Yeah, I will be brief. This sector is in need of hundreds of thousands of people, and it was before Brexit. So the current CITB number, I think, is 167,000 people in the next 5 years, and they've just announced last September that we're going to be investing something like £600 billion as a country in infrastructure. Now that won't, you know, government's always big numbers and stuff, but even if half of that is going to be done, they say they're going to need 450,000 people to deliver those projects. So there are definitely jobs in this industry. You can move around, and I think Brexit and all those other things will affect it. But actually, there's so much opportunity and there's so much investment going on. I don't think people are going to be unemployed in the sector. They're going to be struggling to choose which job to do. And I know employers are struggling to find people already with the right skills. So it's a really good place to be, I think.
Thanks, Terry. Yeah, one of the things that I love about construction is no matter where you start, there's opportunities to progress and develop your career. So I just finally hand over to Kwame to just sort of do a sum up and before we depart. So over to you, Kwame.
Okay, so thank you all for taking time off your busy schedule to attend this webinar. We basically have a lot of opportunities, and we engage with most of the contractors working within the Lambeth, Lewisham and Southwark boroughs. So if you need any to reach out to any employer or you want any jobs within the construction firm, or you want any bit of training or apprenticeships, kindly reach out to me. I've put my email address in the chat box, and reach out and we'll be able to engage with you to help you get the best out of the sector. Thank you very much. Amanda, you're on mute.
Had to have
That's good phrase. I put our email in there as well. So thank you very much, and we will send out information about CSTT and the open days that Charlie and Max have got coming up. And thank you very much for your time. Over